should be in the MVP race.
And he is. And to be fair, though, Kyler Murray's head coach, Cliff Kingsbury, was brought in to draft Kyler Murray first overall and then to build an offense and a team completely around him. So he also had experience working with him in college. So yes, he's in a different situation, and he does not have as many handcuffs as Lamar does because of his ability to pass the ball and get it to his playmakers downfield. But I don't know. I think Lamar is a winner, man. He's a leader, like you said, and he's got the heart of a lion. And I think the team absolutely loves that. They rally around him. And
you are such a homer.
No,
it's impossible to do the show with you because you're such a homer. You are like you're like having like little boy fantasies about Lamar. He's got the heart of a lion. Do you hear yourself talking?
He's
like you talk about your girlfriend. You're like, yeah, she's all right. You talk about Lamar. It's just like
she's no.
It's like it's like I need like that lens where it gets like all foggy around you, and it's just like Lamar's got the heart of a lion, and he's really his soul's as pure as gold. It's like Jesus Christ, calm down. Florida I get it. It's nice to have a quarterback. You had Joe Flacco for 10 years. I get it. Yeah, Let me ask you a question. Did you have a man crush like this on Joe Flacco?
Not until he got paid and then got really handsome, like, shaved his unibrow, got a nice haircut. He's clean, kind of all clean shaven. Remember how
you had a Joe Flacco poster in your bedroom?
That is not true. I did have a Joe Flacco poster. It wasn't in my bedroom.
I knew it.
But what's funny is it was like
you would talk to Ray Lewis at night when you were going to sleep, right? You're like, oh, Ray, if I just knew what to do, right?
Oh, Ray Lewis and I would pray together. He's my pastor.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Anyway, all right. You ready to move on?
No, I like this topic, actually. That we should actually create a topic that's called Michael is a Homer. That would be a great topic, actually. All right, we got one last topic to go through before we end the show. This is a brand new topic. It's called For Our Feelings. And every Friday we're going to do this. And it's kind of like, F your feelings. This is For Our Feelings because we've got 4 games that we're going to talk about. And then we're going to talk about our feelings about these games. These have no direct statistical analysis involved at all. This is what we see with our eyes when we watch these games. What do we think is going to happen? The first game on the list is going to be Bucs versus Panthers. Now, a couple weeks ago, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were talked about as the best team in football. Well, they got absolutely positively smoked last week. And the Carolina Panthers were considered middle of the pack at best. And they went into Kansas City last week, and while they lost, they gave Kansas City a scare. And in my opinion, they turned the corner to look like a pretty good team. Now they're under a brand new coach. There's a lot of things that could happen. So the first game on For Your Feelings, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Carolina Panthers. How do you feel?
I feel like this is going to be a closer game than a lot of people had expected coming into it. Now, like you said, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers just got embarrassed on Monday Night Football. So when that happens to Tom Brady, I gotta think that he's gonna come out firing. He's pissed off that he got embarrassed in prime time. Now everyone's talking about, should he retire? Is he too old? He's finally fallen off that cliff, as Max Kellerman had said. So I really think that he's gonna come back and have a strong game. One thing that I really wish the Panthers did have coming into this game is Christian McCaffrey. Unfortunately, he suffered a shoulder injury last week against the Chiefs, and
he'd just come back, so he literally played.
Back. Now he's out again, and God, you can just see how important he is to that offense. He had over 150 total yards, 10 receptions, 2 touchdowns, and that was a close game against the Chiefs. Not to mention, the Panthers also had a close game against the Saints 3 weeks ago where they only lost by 3. So, the Panthers are right there. Teddy Bridgewater he's a good game manager, and he can make plays happen. They have an explosive offense with DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson as an excellent.
I think Teddy Bridgewater is turning the corner into being more than just a game manager. I just want to say that.
That's fair.
I was always kind of a fan of the guy. He was really good in Minnesota before he hurt himself. I think he's turning the corner to becoming more than just a game manager. I just want to throw that in there.
No, that's completely fair. And, the last time that the Panthers and the Bucs played each other was in week 3. Now the Buccaneers were at home, which they're away this week. But when the Buccaneers were at home against the Panthers, they won pretty handedly, 31-17. But if you look at that game stats wise, the Panthers had over almost 100 more total yards, and they had more first downs. And they had a better first down efficiency, and they did have more. The thing is, they had twice as many turnovers, but they won the time of possession by 10 minutes, and they really look good against a divisional rival. So I think it's going to be an exciting game, and I look forward to seeing Tom Brady bounce back, continue to get Antonio Brown involved. I don't care what Bruce Arians says. It's not Bruce Arians' team. It's Tom Brady's team. If Bruce Arians had that much control over it, then AB wouldn't be there. But AB is there because Tom wants him there. It's Tom's roommate. He's living in his living room. So those guys.
Listen, I think the more they try to get, I didn't have a lot of time this week, but I'm going to tell you something. I went on to the NFL channel. I have the international direct ticket so I can watch all the games. You can go on there and look at the game film. I watched the first half of the Tampa game film. If you watch Antonio Brown, he's doing the exact same thing he did in Pittsburgh. He's playing off schedule. He runs his route, and if the ball doesn't come to him right away, he takes off. Tom Brady will continue to throw interceptions like that with Antonio Brown in the lineup because Antonio Brown doesn't have the discipline to run a Tom Brady offense. You will continue to see Tom Brady slide until they have a moment. Somewhere along the way, that moment's going to happen where Brady has to go, enough's enough. And I think it's going to take a few weeks. You're going to see it happen. And just from what I saw, unless they correct that right away, unless somebody calls him out and says, that's not where you were supposed to be. It's not your job. On the one interception, Brady overthrows Antonio Brown by 12 yards because Antonio Brown stops.
Yeah.
Brady thinks he's going deep. So somewhere along the way, there was some confusion there. And look, again, this is the first year Ben Roethlisberger plays at least part of a full season without Antonio Brown. With Antonio Brown, 17 interceptions. Without Antonio Brown, 4 interceptions, 2 of which were on tip balls.
Mm-hmm.
So when you throw those out, you're looking at 2 interceptions. He hasn't tried to force the ball to anybody. He's been able to spread the ball around because he doesn't have that diva wide receiver asking for the ball. I think that Antonio Brown is going to be a hindrance, and that'll be my opinion throughout the rest of the year. Antonio Brown will be a hindrance. I hope I'm wrong, and he turns it around, and Tampa's able to survive. So we're talking about games that actually make us feel a certain way this weekend. We're going to cover 4 games. So it's 4 for our feelings. How do you feel about the Bills and the Cardinals? 2 hot teams.
Oh, super hot teams. And I love this. Like, this is an excellent matchup. I'm going to watch, as much of this game as I can. I love the 2 quarterbacks in both of these offenses. And I just think it's going to be a heck of a game. Like we already talked about Kyler Murray, the excellent season that he's having, but Josh Allen's resurgence and just his improvement from last year, his accuracy, his decision-making has gone through the roof. And that's why even he has been talked about in the MVP conversation. And
so Josh Allen, really quick, Josh Allen goes back to what I said earlier, which is an offensive coordinator who's willing to continue to expand an offense under that quarterback. Believing that this quarterback is improving as a quarterback and expanding it. Josh Allen is exactly that. I didn't want to interrupt you, but I just want to throw that in there. You're seeing a progression definitely with Josh Allen.
That 100%. I think the addition of Stephon Diggs helps a lot to him. Helps him.
I agree. I agree with that.
They get the ball down the field more, So, and Josh Allen also, like we've talked about before, he's the Bills' goal line running back. He's like Cam Newton. Like Cam Newton was in 2015, at least. He's huge, he's strong, and he's not afraid to just put his shoulder down and get those tough yards. So you love to see that. You love to see your quarterback taking hits and willing to get out there and, put the beating on someone. So I think that really brings a lot of heart to that Bills team. And I think it's going to be a great game. I love the Bills Cardinals. I think it's going to be a shootout as well. So I'm loving that game for fantasy, for DFS purposes, trying to get as much action in that game as I can.
Well, I tell you how I feel about it. I honestly think that's a kind of game where you're seeing these two young stud quarterbacks that are similar but different. I mean, obviously they can both tuck the ball and run.
Mm-hmm.
They're both used completely different. They're so vastly different in the fact that I think Allen's 6'5". I think Kyler Murray's 4'11". There's just such a huge difference in the style of the way those two guys play. But again, there's some similarity in the fact that they'll both tuck the ball and run.
Mm-hmm.
They both had accuracy questions in the beginning in their first year. Kyler Murray was not nearly as accurate in year one as he is in year two.
Sure.
And you're watching the progression of two guys. Allen's a year ahead of Murray, who could eventually be, these great big superstars in these really small little markets. Like Arizona and Buffalo are not big market teams.
No.
You're looking at the Giants and the Jets, who've both taken first-round quarterbacks, and both of their guys look like they're pretty much mediocre at best.
Oh, yeah. Mediocre is generous.
I think I'm being generous.
Yeah.
Let's say they're mediocre because they're not surrounded with the same amount of talent that, Arizona goes out, already has a decent amount of weapons. They go out and get DeAndre Hopkins.
Yep.
Buffalo, you can argue, had some weapons. They go out and get Diggs.
Mm-hmm.
So, you're going out and you're making these improvements where the Jets and the Giants really didn't make any improvements. People were dying to get the heck out of there. So anyway, I think this is a very exciting game because I think you're seeing a glimmer of what the future of the NFL brings to us in the form of these two quarterbacks. Now, when we talk about quarterbacks, to me, I am loving the quarterbacks in our next game. Because again, we're talking about for our feelings. And these are the games where we have the most feeling for this weekend. And we're going to talk about Chargers versus Dolphins, two rookie quarterbacks that are pretty much surprising everybody. What do you feel?
Yeah, I feel like this game I'm not quite as excited about this game. I really do like the Chargers, and I'm excited to see what Tua can do. But let's not get ahead of ourselves and say that Tua belongs in the Justin Herbert conversation. Yes, Tua is 2-0, and Justin Herbert has won only 2 games, out of the 7 that he started. But if you look at their numbers, I mean, obviously Tua, his numbers, we really can't put a lot of emphasis on that right now. But Justin Herbert,
no, his first game was 95 yards total passing. His second game was quite impressive.
Yeah, but and he was able to pull out some wins there. But Herbert, though, he's been so impressive too. And I know that his record doesn't show it, but that's because their defense cannot seem to hold a lead with a minute left in the game. They are always giving up, game-winning touchdowns to the other side. That's not Justin Herbert's fault. Through 7 games, Justin Herbert has over 2,000 yards, 17 touchdowns to just 5 interceptions, and he's pretty effective with his legs too. He's got 166 yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground. So I've been so impressed with Justin Herbert, and I would put him in Rookie of the Year consideration for sure, way before.
So one of the things that you didn't mention about Herbert that I think you need to mention is the kid's a leader. I've watched pieces of Charger games, and he does not let that team give up. He is a true leader, which nobody expected. I mean, if you don't know the backstory of him, he played at Oregon. He lives in Oregon. Like, he went to college 5 minutes away from his house.
Yep.
People had one of the big reservations of him was, what is he going to be like once he gets out of that cocoon? And he's the same guy. And you're right. He's an athlete. I mean, and listen, they've been in shootouts every week, and that's not his fault. But it is pretty impressive that you'd have trouble naming 5 offensive weapons he has, and he's somehow able to score 28, 30 points every week and keep his team actually competitive.
Sure. He's without arguable. I mean, I would say Keenan Allen is their biggest weapon, but right behind him, Austin Eckler, who's been out since week 2.
Sure.
Mike Williams, obviously, he's just a physical beast. And you can throw Mike Evans the ball in the end zone 50% of the time. He'll come down with it. I'm sorry, not Mike Evans. Mike Williams. So he does have some weapons on offense, but it all starts with
he's got a few, but he's not loaded. He's not Kansas City or even Pittsburgh where you're looking around going, wow, this is a loaded team full of weapons. They have a few guys.
Yeah.
And he's leading them. He's doing a great job, in my opinion.
Like you said, he's a leader. He's a winner. And that hasn't come to fruition yet, but it's not entirely his fault. And, remember, this is his rookie year. So this will be a developmental year for him. I'm glad that they handed the keys to him after Tyrod Taylor got hurt. I know Anthony Lynn, the head coach, was saying, oh, it's still Tyrod's team. And when he's healthy, he'll come back. And then the team doctor, punctured Tyrod's lung.
I have this thing in my head where the team doctor's over trying to give him a shot.
Yeah.
And somebody comes behind the doctor and is like, bing. Elbows him right into and it's like, oh, Jesus, my lung. He's like, oh, geez, oh, God, so sorry you can't start this week.
Tyrod, what happened? I'm so sorry. Yeah. And I feel bad for Tyrod Taylor, really, because I feel like he's never really gotten a fair shot at being a team's franchise piece. He's always a transitional piece for teams.
Well,
with the Ravens,
he had a shot in Buffalo.
Yeah.
And he got hurt.
Yep.
The knock on Taylor's always been he'll get this opportunity and then he's unable to do a lot with it because of injury. And that's unfortunately, I think that's going to be his story. That guy's going to end up just being a career backup now. He's going to be somebody's amazing career backup.
Yes, he's probably the best backup in the league right now. So good for him. What do they say? A backup quarterback is the best position in football, right?
Yeah, listen, if you could be the best backup quarterback in football, you can probably make yourself $3 or $4 million a year.
That's what I mean. And never get hit.
Never get hit. Do very little. Yeah. Stay in that job until you're 40.
Yeah.
Because not only is Tyrod a good athlete, when that ends, he's a good leader and he's a smart guy who can learn the offense, teach it to somebody younger. He's a guy that can go in and give you a couple starts. Listen, I'm actually a Tyrod Taylor fan because he's one of those mobile quarterbacks who's smart. And I think we're going to talk about a couple more of those guys in our last game. Again, this segment is called For Our Feelings.
Mm-hmm.
It's 4 games that give us a feeling. And we picked this game, actually, the last game on here, because I knew that you would have a strong feeling about the Ravens and the Patriots. And let me just say this. Let me get this out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you're not calling it a controversy, but as we talked about earlier in the show, you have your star quarterback, Lamar Jackson, coming up and saying, hey, man, they're calling out our plays, going up against one of the best coaches of all time who will have a game plan ready and will have told his team this is what to look for. Ravens, Patriots, Sunday night. What's your feeling?
I'm excited. You're going to call me a homer. You're going to say that
Homer.
I'm playing down the controversy. But that's a great point. I mean, Bill Belichick is going to know what plays are coming, and he's going to have his defense ready. Belichick does the best is take away the offense's best player. Clearly, that's Lamar Jackson for the Ravens.
Clearly.
So what the Ravens are really going to have to do is Lamar's going to make plays. He's going to do what he does. But he's really going to, I think, have to rely on those running backs. I think Mark Ingram I don't think he's practiced yet, but he's questionable to return. Even if he doesn't, the combination of J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards is so difficult for defenses to key in on. Both of those guys are just really good. So I think the Ravens run the ball a lot. That's what they want to do. And historically, the Ravens have never had a problem going into New England and fighting against the Patriots. I mean, a lot of other teams, big popular teams, go in there and the Patriots make them look stupid. That almost never happens with the Ravens, especially recently. Ravens always put on a tough fight against the Patriots, and I think they're going to do it again. I think this will be more lopsided than previous games, but I see the Ravens, winning this pretty big.
So here's the thing I see about this game, and I'll just leave this out there.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this is just my feeling. I feel that the Ravens will be exposed in this game. they'll be exposed in a way. And I'm not saying they're going to lose the game because I don't think that the Patriots have an offense that can actually score. I don't think that Cam Newton is going to pull out a miracle game against a really good Ravens defense. I think that your offense is going to be exposed by Bill Belichick. And it's going to be a rough game. It's going to be rough sledding. I think you're going to win. The Ravens are going to win. But I believe that this is going to be a game that other teams around the NFL are going to be taking notice of. Pittsburgh Steelers. Mm-hmm. You're 2 weeks away from playing the Steelers. Mm-hmm. I think this is going to be a game that people are going to look at and say they were either exposed or it was a huge turning point for them to where they finally said, we've got to switch it up. We've got to come up with some new stuff. We've got to get some of these other weapons involved. It can't just be the Lamar Jackson show. It's got to be somebody else out there. I think this is the moment when they've either got to make the big adjustment and the big switch, or it's all downhill from this week forward because Bill Belichick will expose you down to the bones and show everybody the blueprint on how to beat you.
100%. That's what he does the best. That's why he's the best coach, the NFL has ever seen. And I think that's a fair point. And I think there's a very real chance that Lamar does get exposed here. And maybe depending on what happens, that does add a little bit of gasoline to the Greg Roman, Lamar Jackson little fire that's going on here. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I do think the Ravens still win. But yeah, I mean, if you're another coach, if you're another team, I think you're kind of always looking at the Patriots. You're always looking at Bill Belichick and seeing what adjustments he makes. And then you're trying to follow that same formula because it clearly works. So,
and when you're looking at game film, you always go back. They'll usually go back 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. So again, that's why I say the Steelers. So that, you have a chance to catch up to the Steelers now in the next few weeks. 2 weeks away, they play the Steelers. The Steelers will look back on this game film. This won't be something they'll need to call back on very far. So this could be a tremendous difference in where the Ravens end up seated. Like, look, you guys are going to make the playoffs. There's no doubt about the fact, in my mind, the Ravens make the playoffs. You don't want to run to Kansas City right away.
No.
So a lot of where you guys are seated gives you a better chance to get deeper into the playoffs before you have to run into Kansas City. And I still think Super Bowl wise, everything runs through KC.